What's good, y'all? Long time no speak, and I say that because I've been really busy these days. But right now, I'm back because I got something very important I got to talk to y'all about. Something that's pissing me off. There's been a lot of talk over the years about different sex education that goes on in the public school system and how they're trying to teach people's children certain things, whether it be gay rights or different sexual type things, and they're not getting parental consent. Parents aren't allowed to tell the teachers, no, I ain't letting my kid sign up for this class. I don't want him learning about that stuff. I feel like he'll learn that stuff when it's time for him to learn that stuff. But are you trying to teach my child at the age of 4 that it's okay to do X, Y, and Z? But bro, it's freaking getting out of hand now. Like, they trying to train kids how to be the next 21st century Sodom and Gomorrah now. There's this new curriculum out. It's called the Comprehensive Sexual Education Program, and basically it's CSE. But they're trying to teach your kids how to do all kinds of X-rated nasty stuff that, you know, only adults should know about. And even some adults shouldn't even know about some of this stuff. But you know, it is what it is. We live in America, which is the new Sodom and Gomorrah. So people are doing sexual things with animals. And I even heard of this one guy who was sexually attracted to an old carnival. Like, he would go up to the pipes and lick them. And now they trying to teach little 4th graders that it's okay to touch each other or to touch yourself, or it's okay to use your mouth in the basement, the back end, and all that kind of stuff that they showing kids. You know what? I'm gonna let the clip roll, and I'll let y'all be the judge as to how wicked this stuff is.
This is definitely an attack. It will affect your child rearing. It will affect your education system.
This is instructions for the teacher in the classroom to ask her or his students, how do people express their sexual feelings? What is abstinence? And here are some answers. Oral sex, masturbation, anal sex, massage, holding hands, touching each other's genitals, saying I like you. And what they're doing is equating all these things. Saying I like you is equal to anal sex.
It is pornography. Men, especially on the House floor, did not want to look at. We couldn't show this on the television news, but yet we want our 4th grade children to be looking at this book.
In the name of sexuality education, children are seeing obscene materials that have been ruled by Congress and by the Supreme Court impossible to show to children.
An online CSE program for African youth called The World Starts With Me tells children that sexuality includes oral sex and masturbation. It then tells them it's their own choice if they want to lose their virginity. It shows children pictures of naked girls and boys in various stages of development, and then asks them to point out differences in their private parts. Parents likely will never know, as it is all done online away from home.
They have elementary students as young as 9 years old. Then they teach them how to wear a condom. And they have this plastic genitalia, and they even have young girls. They're teaching them how to put a condom on a male genitalia, and boys how to put a condom on a woman's genitalia without the knowledge and consent of the parents.
They're giving them handouts, negotiating sexual encounters with other students. For example, there are statements like this: can I take your shirt off? It makes me hot when you touch me here. Is it okay if I take my pants off?
Where we in Latin America, we still have a lot of poverty. We have communities that don't have fresh water, that don't have electricity. Focus is completely shifted from basic needs. They get comprehensive sexual education without the consent of parents, taking and deconstructing the family.
My brother Luigi and I had an opportunity to go to the United Nations and give a speech on the UN floor. I told them how Planned Parenthood was passing out a booklet for HIV positive youth at the United Nations called Healthy, Happy, and Hot. This is for the kids who have AIDS. It teaches about sexual pleasure through masturbation, with same-sex partners, and even if you are drunk.
This pamphlet called Healthy, Happy, and Hot
tells young people that you have the right not to disclose your HIV status to a sexual partner if you're not comfortable. It also tells young people that are HIV positive that if they decide with their partner not to wear a condom, that's their decision.
The World Health Organization standards for sexuality education in Europe actually suggest that children ages 0 to 4 should be given information about masturbation and given the right to explore their gender identity. For ages 4 to 6, children should be taught about same-sex relationships and respect for different norms regarding sexuality.
The interests of organizations like UNFPA and IPPF is to get parents out of the picture and to radicalize and sexualize children.
UNFPA has tried to convince my country to change our positions on issues such as reproductive rights and comprehensive sexuality education. Madam Chair, does the UNFPA think it can do this because Nauru is the smallest member state of the United Nations?
The Nigerian government was actually told by the Western countries that if they do not give in, that they will be denied foreign aid.
On page 89 of a UNICEF-published Sexual and Reproductive Health Manual, UNICEF listed situations in which one can obtain sexual pleasure that included sexual responses directed towards inanimate objects, animals, minors, and non-consenting persons.
In the context of the Sustainable Development Goals that determines the agenda for the next 15 years, the voice is very, very biased. It's just International Planned Parenthood Federation and their affiliates have a direct influence on the outcome documents, on what is established, what is negotiated at the UN.
Some of the objectives of the UNESCO Sexuality Education Guidelines include teaching children at age 9 about sexual stimulation and the definition and function of orgasm, and at age 15, that both men and women can receive sexual pleasure with a partner of the same or opposite sex. The It's All One curriculum, also promoted by International Planned Parenthood, reveals the multiple manipulative tactics used to indoctrinate and sexualize children through CSE. Like other CSE programs, It's All One claims, among other things, to be evidence-based, comprehensive, human rights, gender-sensitive, and culturally appropriate education that will increase young people's responsible decision-making, to reduce adolescent rates of pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections, including HIV. It's All One, however, like most CSE programs, is really just cleverly disguised abortion rights, sexual pleasure education, masquerading as human rights, gender, and sexual and reproductive health education. It aggressively promotes abortion. With over 112 references to abortion, It's All One has an obsessive focus on sexual pleasure, mentioning sexual pleasure 62 times. It promotes multiple sex acts and instructs children on how to stimulate themselves or their partner to orgasm. To explore their readiness, children fill out a worksheet that infers children are ready to have sex when you are feeling sexually attracted to the other person, and when you are feeling comfortable about telling the other person what feels good sexually. It teaches that human rights encompass sexual rights, including alleged rights to all persons to sexual expression and the right to seek sexual pleasure. Hooking children on sex is a multi-billion-dollar business for Planned Parenthood and other similar organizations. This is because children, or prospects, once sexualized, become Planned Parenthood customers dependent upon their services. Comprehensive sexuality education programs are disguised under many names. They may be called comprehensive sex or sexual education, education on human sexuality, reproductive health education, information on sexual and reproductive health, family life education, teen pregnancy prevention, rape prevention, anti-bullying programs, HIV/AIDS prevention, and sometimes even abstinence or abstinence plus education. CSE programs usually falsely claim to be age-appropriate, evidence-based, healthy sexuality education that will prevent teen pregnancy, sexual abuse, STDs, and HIV.
One of the handouts that concerns me the most is called the Genderbread Person. They teach that gender is a spectrum, that you can choose to be whatever you want. You could be all female one day and the next day feel like you're neither female or male.
Frankly, it's confusing. It's mental molestation. We're confusing these kids as to what they are. From a medical perspective, when sexual freedom is the priority, then sexual health is going to suffer. There are laws in Oregon where children as young as 15 can get taxpayer-funded sex changes without parental consent. You can't have an aspirin at school without parental consent. However, a student could make these life-altering, permanent decisions without their parental knowledge or consent.
Sexual rights, sexual education movements began with Dr. Alfred C. Kinsey. Kinsey actually had pedophiles measure with a stopwatch how many children could achieve what he called orgasms within a 24-hour period. Today, comprehensive sexuality education is based on this philosophy that children are sexual from birth, created by Kinsey.
Say no to CSE! Say no to CSE!
We've got to stop it. We've got to use everything at our disposal. We have to stand together to stop this attack against our children.
And they have all this funding and this organization, but we know that if we stand together, we can do something for the family, for the children.
We stopped the Kinsey sexuality education program in Croatia.
It is time for parents to say, no, my family is mine. My wife is mine. I am hers. Our children are ours.
Band together and find ways to stop it from entering your country.
Men have to rise up, defend their family. On matters sexual, the fathers have got to stand up. Say, you have no place talking sexuality to my children. We resist it, even with our lives, because that's what life is all about.
It's happening on our watch. If we don't do something about it, it is all of us that carry that guilt.
Okay, so y'all saw that. And my question is, how come these executives haven't been rounded up and castrated yet? I would want to fight somebody if I found out my children was in school without my knowledge learning about this BS. It's obvious to me that the powers that be, the people that are over these organizations trying to come up with these curriculums and trying to teach children that it's okay to be sexually adventurous at the age of 2, I'm convinced that these people are some freaking pedophiles. And they want to teach your little kids how to be nasty, sexual, deviant freaks at the age of fetus. Real talk, I think it's time that parents need to take a stand. And y'all need to start homeschooling your kids, because you're gonna look up and you're gonna have little Timmy up there in his bedroom drawing sexual organs on his wall and crap. And you ain't gonna understand why he's doing this stuff, and then you're gonna go up there to the school and you're gonna find out that all his friends who are preschoolers are none but nasty little perverts. And it's because they're learning it directly from the teachers that are teaching this crap. I feel like the teachers even need to be standing up against, everybody needs to be standing up against this curriculum. Like, I don't understand why this is a thing right now. And the hypocrisy of it all really pisses me off too, because it's like, they're trying to make it seem like, oh, this is so beneficial and this will show children how to abstain from doing certain acts because of the simple fact that, you know, we're giving them the knowledge of everything, you know? See, knowledge is power, you know? Even though we're teaching you how and what to do, and we showing you what condoms and stuff are, you know? We're showing you to avoid that stuff, but we're telling you about it at the same time, you know? I'm like, man, get the hell out of my face. Before you know it, pedophilia is gonna probably be legal. Because, I mean, they were saying the same type of stuff about the gay rights movement about 10 years ago, making it seem like, well, you know, it's not that bad, and they were trying to rationalize it. Then now they're trying to rationalize pedophilia, and they're trying to rationalize this stupid curriculum. And the more people sit by and just be all passive about it, the more they're gonna succeed at their campaign. And when they succeed at their campaign, that's gonna be it. It's gonna be all out war. Cause like hell, if I'm gonna sit there while some grown man walks over there with hair all over his body, scratching and itching and burning in his flesh, looking at one of my little siblings, or looking at my child, talking about, I have the sexual right to have your child, so you gotta let me borrow your child for about a few hours. I'll bring her back to you though. And I just gotta sit there and be like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna infringe upon your human rights. Dude gonna catch anything that's not mounted down to the ground. You're gonna be catching bricks and pavement and sand to the face and elbows and fists and knees and feet. You're gonna catch a brick splitting palm to the nose. That's how it is. I'm Elijah Yarike, and yeah, subscribe, like,